Newsload London presents.
Now, which McMillan is going to be on the ballot?
So Sharon McMillan will be on the ballot, and no relation to my family.
Do not vote for Sharon McMillan, or as we will call her, Sharon McVillain.
No. So my last name is, although my kid's last name is McMillan, my last name is Elliott. So I always had this interest in politics, in local government. So my grandfather was a councillor, a mayor, a reeve. He worked his way up, and eventually he ran federally and was successful and represented our area as an MP. And I always, admired what he did and thought it was amazing and wanted to follow in his footsteps. But I, at the same time, you only really saw elected officials as old retired people, and so I kind of thought, that's what you do when you're retired from your career. You take up your career in politics, and so that was kind of my plan. And then in 2014 we were doing a lot of community work, and we realized that we really needed someone that had a strong voice at the table that could advocate for, at the time, up in Thorndale as the Ward 1 councillor. And I kept trying to encourage people to run and say, we really need somebody. And everyone kept coming to me and saying, that's you. You should run. And so I decided to. So in 2014, I first ran for Ward 1 councillor and was successful. So
excellent. Now, you said you have a strong voice. Can you give us a little bit of a demonstration of that? I'll hold a C for you.
So I don't have a strong singing voice. I don't sing.
I see. I'm glad
maybe late night karaoke I could probably get behind. Alone in my car, maybe I'm good with that, but not on camera.
Now, I'm glad we have figured this out for both our sakes.
Yes, for everyone's sakes.
So you're currently the deputy mayor.
I am, yes.
And did you peruse that because of Michael J. Fox's role on Spin City, where he is himself a deputy mayor? I
did not. No, I don't think I've ever watched that. So, no. Interview's over.
So Kelly, tell me about this Thorndale capital. Capital of Thorndale?
Well, I think it depends. If you talk to people in Thorndale, they think the capital of Thames Centre is in Dorchester, and Dorchester vice versa. And I think that's a typical amalgamation struggle that lots of municipalities had. So in 2001, amalgamations across the province happened. So lots of little townships and municipalities were forced by the province to amalgamate as one. And although that was 21 years ago, there's still a lot of growing pains happening in that. And so in kind of the history of Thames Centre, it was West Niagara Township and North Dorchester Township amalgamated to create Thames Centre. And there's definitely still some bitter feelings maybe between that, but that's okay. We keep moving forward as Thames Centre, as one municipality, and keep moving that forward.
Which one do you feel is the true capital? You knew I was going to ask this. Which one do you feel is the true capital? Keep in mind, we are sitting on Dorchester soil right now, and I prefer to live.
That's true. Well, you know what? I will just say I was born and raised in West Niagara Township. My family lives in both Dorchester and Thorndale areas. My son goes to school in Dorchester. My kids play sports here, and we go between each. So I would say they are equally as great.
Do you mind if we arm wrestle for the right to declare Dorchester the capital right now?
Let's go. Which one is which?
Ah!
Wait.
Thorndale is the new capital of Thames Centre. You all saw it happen here. Oh, I used to be younger. I used to be a younger man. Speaking of younger men.
Yes.
There is a younger man in your life.
There is a younger man in my life, yes.
And he is running it entirely.
Running the show.
Running the show.
Yes.
Do you care to comment on this young whippersnapper of a man?
So my campaign manager, his name is Kirk Hallman. He is 14 years old, and I am super excited to have him on my team. He actually won our junior deputy mayor contest earlier this year. He has a passion for local government and making his community a better place, and I think that's absolutely absolutely the footprint to getting involved in local government. And what better way to start your local government career than running a mayoral campaign
That's
when
right.
you're 14?
And being, maybe his sights will be set on deputy mayor in the future, and then mayor, and who knows?
Absolutely. And we can say it started on my campaign.
Making Thames Centre a more inclusive place. You had some problems with some inclusivity. Do you care to comment on that?
You know what? I think, so we'll start a year ago. We started the Accessibility and Inclusivity Committee. The goal of it really was to make Thames Centre a more inclusive place, make it more welcoming. Everybody is welcome to work and live and play here in Thames Centre. And so we created that. So we actually worked and built an accessible playground, fully inclusive playground where everyone, no matter their ability, level of ability or their age, can play. We held our very first Pride Festival here in Thames Centre back in July. We put in our very first rainbow crosswalk. I brought forward a motion to amend our fireworks bylaw to include Diwali as one of the events that you can host fireworks at, as well as looking at putting Indigenous land acknowledgements in all of our parks.
Amazing.
So there's some amazing things happening, but of course that is change, and change is always, can be a little bit hard to get everyone on board with, but that's okay. I think, Thames Centre, when you compare to Thames Centre on a lot of issues that were happening, especially around Pride festivals and municipalities surrounding us, and pride flags.
It's okay. You can talk about London in this. You can trash London as much as you like.
I am not going to trash any municipality.
Trash
And it wasn't just London. It happened across southwestern Ontario where pride flags were stolen. Rainbow crosswalks were torn up and different things happen. We never had anything like that happen in Thames Centre, and so I do feel very proud of Thames Centre and the fact that they have been so welcoming and creating that inclusive community where everyone feels welcome here.
Even it's so inclusive that criminals came along and they cut the word inclusive out of the banner.
Yes, the words inclusive got cut out of our inclusive playground banner, but I don't know the circumstances behind that or who did that. We're not sure, but I would like to say that our playground is an inclusive playground.
Was the word ever found?
No.
So somebody has the word inclusive hanging up in their abode currently.
It may still be in their possession.
It may still be in their possession. I'm going to go ahead and say there is a $20 reward from myself on behalf of Kelly Elliott for the safe return of the word inclusive. And she will duct tape it back on herself.
Actually, you know what? We got a whole new banner, and I wanted to give a shout out to one of our local businesses, La Noisette Bakery. They're actually in London. The owners live in Thames Centre here, and they actually purchased a new banner for us. So,
amazing.
Yeah, it was excellent.
That $20 I mentioned is off the table. I've heard this I heard a little bit about a McDonald's story, and I didn't have any of the details.
No, that's okay. So one thing that I am super passionate about is engagement and public input, and I think when I was first elected in 2014, transparency and accountability were kind of the keywords that every politician was using, because we were coming off the City of London, we were coming off the Fontana 8 scandals and things like that. So everybody was using those hip words, but they were really important to me because I really do believe in that public engagement and getting people more excited about local government. But sometimes in local government, there's these odd processes that you have to go through in order to get that public input, and it's really hard sometimes to understand the reasonings, and even me as an elected official sometimes don't really understand why we have to go through all these. But one of them was we wanted to see if there was another use for a gravel parking lot here in Dorchester, and so in order to have that public feedback process, in order to have a public meeting and garner that, we had to declare the land surplus, or our intention to declare the land surplus. And so that's what we did as a council. And then all of a sudden rumors just started flying that, we were selling this property and what was coming. And one of the rumors that went around town was that McDonald's was coming in, and I was getting a pay cut from McDonald's
A pay cut?
Or not a pay cut, but like a payoff, yes. A payoff from McDonald's and for my vote in order to bring that in. That was absolutely not true.
What was the payoff? Tender, juicy chicken nuggets, 6 of them, 20 pack, a family pack, hamburgers?
I don't know. There was
a meet
nothing.
and greet with Grimace himself? So you heard it,
Especially in
folks.
small towns.
Burger King is coming to Dorchester. Wendy's. Speaking of rumor mills, there has been a rumor that is floating around, Kelly, that you have a giant, enormous caucus.
Yes, the Women's Caucus, actually.
We are in 2022. Women can have giant caucuses as well.
That's very right.
That's correct.
Yeah, that's correct. And I'm actually very proud of our Women's Caucus.
Feel free to call it a giant caucus.
I'm very proud of our giant Women's Caucus. You know, and I would actually like it to be bigger, you know. In this term of council at Middlesex County Council, we actually have gender parity on our council. And so we decided the women that were elected at the county level that we would create the Women's Caucus and have our focus really, it was when the pandemic was hitting, and we really wanted to ensure that women and families weren't left behind and that their needs and what they needed to get through the pandemic and those supports really were there. And so we created the Women's Caucus. It was fully supported by everyone on council, and you know, we started holding so we've held webinars for women just to come on. We call them the How Are You Doing webinars, where we have different speakers. We talk about resources that are available across the county, and then we just open up the floor and let women just talk about what they're going through. And I think, you know, that was, especially during the pandemic, was the most powerful piece, you know, to have. And even I found it for me personally, because, you know, not just as an elected official, but as, you know, a community member, as a mom, you know, a lot of things that other women were going through were things that I was going through personally too, right? So you definitely didn't feel alone in all of that. We tackled, you know, mental health, making sure mental health resources were out there. Middlesex County actually hosted Michael Landsberg here earlier this year. He did 2 nights. So one was geared towards parents on how to talk to your kids about mental health. And then the second night was actually for kids to hear from Michael Landsberg and talk about mental health and things that they were going through. We also held the very first, we called it the Leading Ladies of Middlesex, and so we took in nominations of from across Middlesex County on women that were just doing incredible things to help out their community during the pandemic, and we held a online awards ceremony for them and handed out awards. So, you know, I'm really proud of the work that we've done, and we've had delegations with ministers to talk about things like housing, childcare, access to internet, mental health. You know, we've been trying to advocate for all these issues. So. And
you feel respected? You feel heard? Do they use your name, or they wouldn't use something like that woman? They wouldn't call you that woman or something that blatantly terrible. I don't even know how to explain it other than terrible.
I had been referred to as that woman, and, you know, I embrace that because I wear my #ThatWoman t-shirt out because, you know, when you become, you know, when we talked about the strong voice, you know, you become a strong advocate on pushing issues, and you don't settle for people just telling you things. You want it to actually happen. And so we have had a lot of accomplishments as the Women's Caucus, and here in Dorchester, the new childcare center at River Heights is the perfect example of something that the Women's Caucus really pushed for, and now we're seeing it under construction and seeing it happening. So.
Would you say that this is why you were approached by every major political party to run for them? So NDP, Liberals,
and Conservatives. So you were a Consiberal. That's a good way to put it.
Consiberal. Yes.
That every party kind of thinks like, oh, you say something bad about them, you must not be with them, and you say something good about us, oh, that's great, we want you. And
I think today anybody can draw anything from anything.
Yeah.
I could say you're wearing yellow today. That must mean you're a Liberal NDP because that's red and orange combined.
Fine, that's true.
Just 1 second. I see a 9-volt battery. Somebody discarded a 9-volt battery at this golf and country club. Your feelings?
I don't support littering.
This is the Newsload.